Boa tarde a todos, muito obrigada pela presença, sejam todos bem-vindos a mais um webinar do EducationUSA. Hoje nós estamos com Bethany Pinegar, ela é especialista de contato internacional com alunos da Universidade da Califórnia e ela vai falar um pouco sobre o sistema de educação superior nas universidades espalhadas no sistema UC por todo o estado da Califórnia. Para quem não conhece, eu me chamo Fernanda, sou advisor do EducationUSA. EducationUSA é a fonte oficial de informações sobre estudos superiores nos Estados Unidos e nós estamos muito contentes com a presença da Bethany aqui. Bethany, the floor is yours. Have a wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much, Fernanda, and welcome everyone. My name is Bethany Pinegar, as Fernanda said, and I represent California State University in Chico. I'm actually going to talk to you today a little bit about the public education system, higher education system in California, and then I will talk to you specifically about California State University in Chico. If you have any questions at any time, feel free to type them in the chat or to put on your microphone and ask them directly. And then I will open it up for asking questions at the end as well. If you need to ask the question in Portuguese, that's fine. Fernanda has said she will translate it for me and help answer those questions.
Yeah, I'm going to translate this bit that I didn't do. That's great, thank you. Se alguém tiver uma pergunta em português, não precisa ficar acanhado, pode escrever no chat, em português mesmo, e eu ajudo vocês a se comunicarem com a Bethany. Muito obrigada. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, welcome to the state of California's public higher education system. The first thing is to make sure that we all know where California is. Normally, in an in-person presentation, I would ask you to show me, but since we can't do that today, I am going to show you where it is. Here we go. It's on the far western side of the United States. I'm sure many people are familiar with California for a number of reasons. Our film industry, Google, many other things that come out of California. And I will talk to you a little bit about the state briefly, and then I'll go into our public higher education system. So did you know? If it were its own country, California would be the 5th largest economy in the world. That's very large. We fall somewhere between India and Germany at the moment. Brazil, for comparison, is around the 8th largest economy in the world. Hollywood, Silicon Valley, manufacturing and agriculture are all big part of that economy. So it's a very diverse economy. The per capita GDP in the Bay Area, which is where Silicon Valley is located, is $74,815, which is more than the per capita GDP in London and Singapore. So that means that the businesses are very successful in that area, and people tend to earn quite a lot of money. Many of our students will go on to work in Silicon Valley during their optional practical training once they complete their education at California State University Chico or any of the other California universities. More than 2/3 of the fruits and nuts and 1/3 of the vegetables produced in the United States are grown in California. That is over 400 different agricultural products. So California is very important, not just to itself, but to the rest of the nation. We are hoping that our city bus systems will be fully electric, by 2040, which will help reduce pollution in the world. And the two major university systems, the University of California and the California State University, contribute more than $60 billion to the state's economy, which is more than the film industry and the professional sports teams. So let's talk about those public higher education in California systems. First, we have the California community colleges. California community colleges, they're the largest higher education system in the United States. They educate over 2.1 million students at about 113 colleges, and they give award certificates and 2-year associate's degrees. Typically, a student who in California who is interested in possibly saving money or did not get into a California State University or a University of California, they might start at the California community colleges, do their first 2 years there, and then transfer to one of the other 2 types of universities to complete. This is becoming a very popular route for not only students from the United States, but also students from other countries, as they realize that they can save some money and still get the same education in the same amount of time by going to the California community colleges first and then transferring. These colleges also prepare students for technical trades, but mostly the students, the international students that go to these schools, are planning to transfer to a 4-year university when they're completed. The California State Universities this is the largest university system in the United States, possibly in the world. It educates approximately 500,000 students at 23 different universities. They're focused on undergraduate and master's instruction. So most of them do not offer PhD programs. And they're a practical education that prepares students for careers. They're often called teaching colleges because they're not considered Research 1 institutions. Now, the UC system, or the University of California, you'll be familiar probably with UC Berkeley or UCLA. Those are the state's primary academic research institutions. They educate approximately 250,000 undergraduate and graduate students at 10 campuses statewide. And they are the primary awarders within the public system of doctoral and professional degrees. So medical, trying to think of other dentistry degrees, things like that for professional degrees. Are there any questions at this time?
Alguém gostaria de fazer uma pergunta?
Okay. The CSU System schools, and I mentioned that there are 23 schools. They are located throughout the state of California. You'll notice that there are areas of concentration along the coast. Those areas of concentration are there primarily because of population. So they're located, they serve population areas, and so there will be more of them in more highly populated areas. The top area of concentration is around San Francisco, and the bottom area of concentration is around Los Angeles. But you'll also notice that there are schools throughout the center part of the state, and that Chico, the school that I represent, is in the north central part of the state. The UC system schools follow a very similar pattern. You will see that they are primarily located in the San Francisco Bay Area and the Los Angeles, Southern California area, but that there are a couple in the center part of the state as well. Now let's compare these systems because they are a little bit different. So the biggest difference we talked about already is that the California community colleges are typically 2-year institutions, and the California State Universities and Universities of California are 4-year institutions. There are 113 California community colleges. They are located throughout the state. We have one in Chico, or right next to Chico, called Butte Community College. And there are community colleges in almost any city with a decent sized population. There are 23 California state universities, and there are 10 universities of California. Now, high school graduation for the community colleges is not required if you're over the age of 18. It is required for California state universities and for universities of California if you are applying to those directly. The GPA, there's no minimum grade point average requirement for California community colleges. There's a 3.0 requirement. This is in the US system, and we would actually take the Brazilian system and that you're in and adapt it to the US system. But it would be a 3.0 in the US system. And for the University of California, all out-of-state students are required to have a 3.4 GPA. SAT or ACT scores are not required for California community colleges. And for CSUs, they are typically not required for international students. However, they may be required for specific degrees within the international, within the CSU, particular CSU that you apply. So it's important to ask that question. And then for the UCs, they are required with the writing component. This is very important to note. Now the TOEFL IELTS scores also, these are the English language proficiency test scores. These typically are a little bit lower for the community colleges, looking for a 45 TOEFL or a 5.0 or 5.5 on the IELTS. And then for the CSUs, the minimum requirement is a 61 and a 6. Again, different CSUs may have higher levels for specific majors, particularly if they're impacted. And the UCs require an 80 or a 6.5. These are also, I want to reiterate that these are for undergraduate students and that graduate students will have different requirements for the CSUs and the UCs. Letters of recommendation are not required for the California public higher education system except for specific majors within the University of California. And the same thing with personal statements. California community colleges and CSUs do not require personal statements. We all have online applications that are fairly easy to complete and don't require a lot of extra letters or personal statements. However, the UCs do have 8 questions and you are required to answer 4 of them. So that's your personal statement is responding to 4 of the 8 questions that they have on their application. Deadlines vary for the California community colleges. They also vary for the California state universities, but they do start November 30th. So November 30th is the first deadline, and that may be the deadline for a California state university that you're interested in. So it's important to check their website, make sure you know what the deadlines are. And then it is November 30th for the universities of California. Spring admission is another one, particularly for Brazilian students who may be completing their education, their high school education, secondary school education in December. We do offer spring admission at some of our campuses. So spring admission is offered at the California community colleges. Typically students would start, depending on whether the school is on a quarter system or a semester system, they would start sometime between January and April. The CSUs, some of our campuses, including Chico, do offer spring admission, and our spring semester begins at the end of January. And then the UCs, some campuses as well are able to offer spring admission. Most of the UCs, I believe, are on the quarter system, which means that spring would start at the beginning of April. So the application fees, many students are interested in this. The application fee, there are no application fees for the California community colleges. Well, I should say that typically there are none. Some schools may have a smaller application fee. The CSUs have a standardized application fee of $70. You can apply to as many CSU campuses as you would like using the same application. However, you'd have to pay $70 for each individual campus that you applied to. And then UC's, theirs is $80. And I believe that the application process is similar. You could use the same application, but you would have to pay an application fee for each campus to which you wanted to apply. Now, a couple of things that I want to note down at the bottom of this is that campuses may have higher standards for or require supplemental applications for impacted majors. Impacted majors are those for which the campus has significantly more applications than space available within the major. And so the requirements tend to be a little bit higher than the basic requirements for that campus. Campuses may have higher than the minimum score for all or some of their majors. So the scores that I've given you here are the minimum scores required by the university for admission. However, if their majors or their campuses are impacted, they may have higher than the minimum scores required. And this is really important. Each campus evaluates each application without knowing the status of the same application at another campus. So you could apply to Chico and you could apply to California State University, Los Angeles. And we would have no idea that you applied to Cal State Los Angeles, and we would have no idea whether they accepted you or they didn't accept you. And we would accept you or not accept you based on our own internal decision requirements. And so it's important for you to know that just because one campus does not accept you doesn't mean that you won't be accepted by another campus, and vice versa. Because one campus admits you doesn't mean another campus will have to admit you either. So we don't consider where you've applied or your admission status in other campuses when we're making decisions.
Bethany, there are two questions at the chat box. Would you like to answer now, or do you prefer to do it at the end?
I would be happy to answer now. Okay,
so Raissa Guedes asks if these requirements are valid for PhD applications as well.
So no, PhD applications would have different requirements. And she can go to, sorry, I shouldn't say he, the student, she can go to the admissions.universityofcalifornia.edu to get information for the PhD requirements.
And Anne asks how to calculate my GPA with Brazilian grades.
Okay, that is a more difficult question to answer. And actually, you may be better able to answer that than I am.
If I may, it's very difficult. There are some websites where you can mimic a calculation, but it's very difficult. And some programs and some institutions, they may require an accreditation, which is an official evaluation. And in this evaluation, it is companies based in the US. They are specialized in doing this equivalence, and they would be able to be exact. But Anne, I would say to you and to Raissa as well, who have asked questions, I strongly encourage you to ask for an appointment with EducationUSA advisor. You can check on our website because these are very specific questions and it would be easier to answer them. But I still encourage you to continue watching the presentation here because there's some information about the institution itself that we don't have, and Bethany is the specialist. Okay, I hope I'm answered. And there's also, okay, thank you. That's fine. Thank you very much, Bethany.
Thank you, Fernanda. And to let you know, yes, there are campuses that require you to have an official evaluation done on your transcript to find out what your GPA is. However, at California State University, Chico, we do all of those in-house. So we do not require that you have an outside organization handle that for us.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Sure. So a little bit more about the California State Universities. We look at the transition from university to career. So a degree takes approximately 4 years to complete, no matter how you end up doing it in the United States. And your career is up to 40 years. So at all of the CSUs, the common focus of administrators, faculty, staff, and students is the development of your career skills and career readiness. So we are focused more on practical application education than theoretical. You will definitely get the theoretical, especially in majors like economics or psychology or places, where you really need it. Engineering is another one that has some strong theoretical knowledge, but you will get that along with practical application training so that when you graduate from us, you will be career ready. We are going to talk a little bit here about OPT. OPT is optional practical training, and that is typically 12 months that you can work in the United States on your student visa to gain practical training after you graduate from university. Now, certain STEM disciplines, those are the science, technology, engineering, and math disciplines, are eligible for an additional 24 months of optional practical training for a total of 36 months or 3 years of OPT in the United States, which means that should you get a job and you've graduated in one of the fields listed below, and you would like to stay in the United States and work on your student visa, you could do so for up to 3 years. And so you can see some of the STEM fields at the CSUs include those listed below. Are there any questions about optional practical training?
Alguma pergunta em português que vocês acham um pouco mais complicado de formular em inglês sobre optional practical training? Fiquem à vontade. I don't think so. I think you can go back.
Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about California State University, Chico. I'm gonna look at what makes Chico special. Answer the questions, what can you study here? Will you be career ready when you graduate? Are you qualified? And then how do you go about applying? You can see that we are the Wildcats, that's our school mascot. If you watch High School Musical at all growing up, then you may be familiar with the Wildcats as a mascot. So academic excellence. U.S. News and World Report has, for the last 20 years since the rankings began, listed California State University, Chico as a top 10 public university in the West. Money Magazine, we are within the top 7.5% of the best colleges in America for educational quality and value. They typically look at a very large number of colleges when they're making that decision. And then Forbes magazine lists California State University, Chico as one of the best colleges in America for educational quality and value. I want to also note that we are WASC accredited. Accreditation is important if you are intending to go on for graduate work and you are coming in as a bachelor's degree student. All of our engineering programs are ABET accredited or have another higher accreditation, and actually most of them. Our gaming program does not have a higher accreditation yet. And all of our business programs are AACSB accredited. So California living on a budget. It's important because the Brazilian students I've talked to in the past look at me and they say, California is very expensive. It's going to be hard for me to afford to go there. And I just want to let you know that you're absolutely right. California is expensive. However, Chico tends to be one of the most economical places to live in the state of California. So our tuition and fees are less than half of a majority of U.S. public universities, and I've just given a list of the tuition and fees on the left side of that of some of the other popular U.S. public universities. So you can look at the comparison. We do offer scholarships for international students. So we have non-resident tuition fee waivers. That's waiving part or all of your non-resident tuition for international students, which means that you get to go to school for the same price as a domestic student or just slightly more. Our housing costs are less than half of the San Francisco Bay Area and Los Angeles areas. When I talk to students who are currently in school in either of those two locations and I ask them how much they pay in rent, it's typically more than, significantly more, almost double what I would pay in rent here in Chico. And then we do offer free city bus transportation for students with their student ID cards. And majority of our students live within about 1.5 kilometers of campus. So they will walk or ride their bicycles to school. I typically ride my bicycle to work every day or walk. And I live about a little under 2 kilometers away from campus. So in following on that, we are a residential campus. Campuses in the United States are typically either commuter campuses or residential campus. A commuter campus, sorry. A commuter campus means that students are living off campus and they are coming into campus for class every day. A residential campus means that students live on or very close to campus. So as we discussed, I do not know why the slide does this. As we discussed, most of our students live within 1.5 kilometers of campus or on our campus. We have about 350 international students from more than 52 countries, including Brazil, and over 200 student organizations and clubs. Adventure outings is something that many of our Brazilian students have enjoyed. It's getting out into the surrounding community to go hiking or backpacking or camping, canoeing, kayaking, and a variety of other activities that allow students to really get out and explore the natural resources around campus. You can see from some of the pictures that there's a lot going on our campus during the day. Chico is California's college town. There aren't a lot of traditional college towns in the United States, in California, but Chico is definitely one of them. What that means is that the university is at the center of our city, and that everything is sort of built out from and around the university. We're one of the oldest California state universities. We were founded in 1887. Chico's a small city, which is why we call it a college town. It's about 100,000 population with about 17,000 students contributing to that population. It's a safe and friendly environment. Our students are comfortable walking to and from class. They're comfortable going out at night and visiting their friends or walking around campus. It's a safe, secure place. There's beautiful natural scenery around us. You can see that from some of the photographs on the left. And we have fantastic weather. It's typically, I think the average year-round is around 25 degrees centigrade, with highs up to 42 in the summer and down to 0 in the winter, lows down to 0 in the winter. But typically our weather is very comfortable. We've got really great student support services on campus. I'll talk a little bit more about what those are in a minute. And then our students are able to experience life outside the classroom and inside the classroom. So they're actively out doing things like hiking. There are movie nights on campus. We have sporting events. There is a recreation facility on campus, a gym that has a swimming pool, as you can see in that photograph. And the students, it's a full service gym with weight equipment, cardiovascular equipment, a climbing wall, indoor basketball courts. So there are a lot of things for our students to do both on and off of campus. And then you can see a couple of pictures of the natural beauty I'm talking about here. The water, actually the far right picture of the river, that river is the same river in the lower left picture, which is about a mile from campus, so 1.6 kilometers from campus. And then to the right at the very bottom where the fish are, that's actually the same river, and it comes right through the center of our campus. So you have lots of opportunities for swimming outside, walking around, feeling very comfortable in your environment. So Chico State likes to help. This is where I want to talk about our support services. So we do offer English as a second language support services on our campus. Those are free to any second language learner. So for anyone whose second language is English, they can use our ESL support center. The tutors will work with you on anything really that you want to work on. They'll look at your papers, they'll listen to your presentations and provide feedback. There's a conversation hour once a week. So there are a lot of different ways to utilize that service. We've got a fantastic career employment services that are our students for life. And so even after you've become an alumna of the campus, you can still come back and use the Career Center for advising or job search or anything like that. But our advisors are fantastic, and they will really help you take the experiences that you're having on campus and while you're going to school and translate those into a strong resume for when you're applying for jobs. International student advising. We have two wonderful international student advisors who work with all of our international students on anything that they need help with while they're going through their education with us. And then, even after while they're doing their OPT, they support those students as well. They offer OPT workshops multiple times a semester so that students know exactly what they need to do in order to obtain an OPT position, and also what their requirements are in terms of reporting to the federal government about their student visa status. And then we have leadership institutes in a number of different places throughout campus. Students are able to do internships both on and off campus while they're at school with us. There are volunteer programs that our students get involved with. There's a tutoring and writing center, and the tutoring centers will handle tutoring for all majors, but there's also, there are often also major tutoring centers as well within the different departments. And then we have an on-campus student health center that's open to all of our students. Are there any questions about that?
Alguma pergunta, pessoal? No? Okay.
Okay. We have over 200 different degree options available at California State University, Chico, throughout really all of the varying disciplines. However, the ones on the left there are our top 10. So these are the most popular ones with our international students. Yours may be there or it may not. If it's not, I encourage you to go to our website and look and see if we have what you're looking for, or you're welcome to email me and ask that question. Or you're welcome to ask that question right now, I can tell you. But as you can see from the pictures, these students are all actively engaged in their studies in one way or another, except for the cows. But we do have a university farm with cattle, milk cows, vegetables, fruits, and the students that work in that study in our agricultural and animal science programs work with the animals on our farm. So as I said, we focus on career readiness at California State University, Chico. This pie chart was given to me by one of the advisors in our career center. She uses this when she's talking to students about the things that are important with regard to their becoming career ready as they go through their education. So you can see that we're looking at experiences. These are the things you're going to gain while you're on campus through part-time jobs, internships, curricular practical training, which is similar to OPT, but you do it while you're in school. Volunteer work, clubs and organizations that you belong to or you lead. Study abroad. Our international students are allowed to study abroad, just the same as our domestic students. So many of our international students will come to California State University, Chico for their 4 years and then spend a semester or a year studying abroad in a third country. And other opportunities that you'll find on campus. And then there's the skills, abilities, and qualities that you develop throughout your education. Time management, problem solving, research that you do, organization, and then just becoming a more kind and helpful person. It's really amazing. Some of the courses that we offer really help students do that. And I like to focus on some of our engineering courses because all the students in our engineering courses typically have a final project that lasts their last 2 semesters. On campus, they work with a team of other students and a corporation or company off campus to develop a solution to a problem that that company is having. And so they spend the full 2 semesters, the company identifies the problem, and then the students spend the full two semesters working together and with the company to develop that solution, and then they present it at the end. And so all of our engineering students are going to have real world experience in that particular way by the time that they graduate from Chico. And I think that's one of the reasons that Chico's ranked 3rd best value engineering school in the United States and has for the last 3 years of the rankings for that. And you can see again from the pictures that students are actively engaged in their learning, whether they're working on a farm or they're looking at virtual reality. The students taking the selfie, in that picture, they were electrical engineering students, and that's a solar-powered charging station that they built in one of their classes and then installed on our campus. So the career cycle at CSU Chico, we're really looking at academics first. We want you to succeed in your academics, but you also have opportunities for on-campus employment, and your eligibility for that begins immediately upon arrival. You have opportunities for curricular practical training, which, as I said, is like optional practical training, but you do it while you're going to school. You're eligible after 1 academic year, and it's limited to 1 year of full-time work. So you want to factor in at least 1 full-time summer session during that time. But you can also do it if the organization is in Chico, you can do it part-time during the academic year as well. Now remember that these positions, all these positions, including the optional practical training, are paid positions. They don't have to be, but they can be, and many of our students are interested in having paid positions while they go to school. And then we've already talked about optional practical training after you graduate. So where can you work? This is a list, a partial list of companies that California State University Chico students work after they graduate from Chico State. You can take a look at those. And if you have any questions about work or employment, feel free to ask now.
Alguém tem alguma dúvida sobre trabalho ou empregabilidade durante ou depois da conclusão do curso? Fique à vontade.
Pode, no caso, estudar e trabalhar ao mesmo tempo ou não? No caso, no curso de mestrado ou doutorado? Tem essa possibilidade?
Was that a question?
Sorry, my microphone is off. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Milena was asking if it's possible to work while you study, while you complete your graduate studies, masters specifically.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, the master's students would work in the summer. So the master's program is 2 years long, maybe a little bit longer than 2 years, depending on the program and prerequisites that you might need to complete. But typically, it's 2 years long, and they can work in the summer between. But they can also, some of our master's programs do have student assistantships that they can do as well while they're going to school.
Uhum. Tudo bem, Milena?
Eu não entendi muito porque eu ainda não estou muito bem no inglês.
Não tem problema. O que ela disse é que você pode trabalhar nas férias e você também pode trabalhar no que a gente chama de assistantship, que é um tipo de estágio que você concorre ou durante a seleção, mas na maior parte das vezes após estar matriculada. Você pode trabalhar no departamento, você pode trabalhar como auxiliar de algum professor, de algum orientador específico. Mas isso não passa de 20 horas por semana. É um tempo bastante limitado, até porque você tem muito que estudar. Né?
Sim, entendo, sim.
Okay?
Obrigada.
Thank you.
Thank you. So some of our degrees do boast 100% job success. Those are business information systems, and we do have a master's degree, an MBA program that is enterprise information systems, which is very similar to the business information systems undergraduate degree. Concrete industry management, accounting, school psychology, communication science and disorders, sustainable manufacturing, which is an engineering degree with us, and agricultural science and education. And we do have job fairs each year, twice a year typically. Companies come up to California State University, Chico, to hold big job fairs for our students. And then our business programs and our engineering programs also tend to have separate job fairs as well for those students that are focused specifically on business and engineering.
All right. And this is even for international students?
Yes, it's for all of our students. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So am I qualified? This is, of course, the question that students want to know before they complete an application. For our freshmen or first year bachelor students, they need to complete successfully a college preparatory high school program or secondary school program with a B average or better, and a C or better in all of their math courses. So a C average or better in math. Typically, we look at the last 3 years of their high school. And then, as I talked about earlier, you need an IELTS or a TOEFL of 6 or 61 or better. We do not require SAT or ACT for international students. For our overseas transfer requirements, and those would be students that had started their university in Brazil and are transferring to the United States to finish their university. We're also looking for successful completion of a college preparatory high school program or diploma, and then a 2.4 GPA or better in your college courses. So that's an average, that's a slightly lower average than the high school requirement. And then an IELTS of 6 or a TOEFL of 61. Now, Broward University does have a center in Belo Horizonte, which I know I'm pronouncing wrong and I apologize. Students from that university, students who would transfer from that university after going there for 2 years would be treated as US transfers, and there'd be slightly different requirements for them. So if anybody is going to that university and has questions, please reach out to me and I'll be able to give them that information. And then for our master's degree programs, we're looking for successful completion of a 4-year bachelor's degree or the equivalent in Brazil or another country, a 3.0 GPA or B average in all courses, And then in IELTS, those are a little bit higher for graduate programs, so a 6.5 or a TOEFL of 80 or better. And then some programs require a GRE or a GMAT. No programs require both, but they maybe require one or the other. A statement of purpose, letters of recommendation, resume, etc. So that's when I said earlier that I was talking specifically about undergraduate programs in that comparison. Graduate programs tend to have different requirements depending on the program and the school, and it's really important that you research what those requirements are. But typically for Chico, they require a statement of purpose and letters of recommendation. Are there any questions about those requirements?
Alguém tem alguma dúvida a respeito do material necessário para qualificar para admissão na universidade?
Desculpa, para mestrado também é o mesmo ou é diferente?
Aqui,
também
ó,
tem alguma diferença?
aqui, olha, aqui quando ela fala do Master's Requirements, tá vendo?
Entendi.
Tem que completar o seu Bachelor's Degree, que é a sua graduação. Tem que ter um mais ou menos B na sua nota média, né? O IELTS ou TOEFL de 80. E alguns programas vão pedir GRE ou GMAT. Você é para psicologia, não é, Helena?
Isso.
Então, você provavelmente, você certamente ninguém vai te pedir o GMAT, e alguns programas podem pedir o GRE, mas isso a gente tem que ver um a um mesmo. E as cartas de recomendação, statement of purpose, o resume, que é o currículo.
Sim, eu já estou vendo esse. Obrigada.
Nada.
So how do you apply? First, we recommend that you visit our website and look at international admission so that you can see specifically what the requirements might be for your different programs or your different levels, just to double check those. And then you can always ask us questions at our apply@csuchico.edu email address. Sometimes those get forwarded to me. Sometimes our admission assistant is able to answer them directly. But you're also always welcome to email me directly if you would like to. And then you will complete an application at Cal State Apply. And as I said, this application is good for all of the California State Universities. So you'd only need to complete one, and then you could apply to different ones as you like. And then you submit your application by the deadline. So for California State University, Chico, our undergraduate deadlines, we call them filing periods. So you would submit an application between October 1st and April 1st, if you wanted to apply for spring, you would do it between August 1st and September 30th. For graduate programs, those deadlines are a little bit different. They do open October 1st, but they end at different times. And so it's really important to go to the graduate website and see when your program deadline is. And then for spring, they typically end around September 15th, but again, you want to go and look and see when your program deadline is. The big thing that I'd like to remind students is to remember to submit your supporting documents. Those are going to be your test scores for grad programs, your statement, your personal statement, your letters of recommendation. For undergraduate and grad programs, those are going to be your transcripts or diplomas or degree certifications. It's really important that we receive those. Grad programs require officials to be sent for admission purposes. However, undergraduate programs do not. And so you may email us copies of your transcripts and test scores if you're doing the IELTS. The only test scores that we require to be official would be the SAT if you did take them and wanted to submit them, and the TOEFL scores. I hope that's helpful. Does anybody have any questions about that? I have the thing circled in red there because we we receive so many applications from students and then they don't submit their supporting documents. And I really want to emphasize how important it is so that we can make an admission decision, because when you go through the effort of completing an application and paying the application fee, we want to be able to give you an admission decision.
If nobody else has a question, I do have a question.
Sure.
For undergrad, SAT and ACT are not required. But if
Correct.
I am applying for a STEM undergraduate program, and is it worth it to submit my SAT subjects in math results? Will it help?
So your SATs cannot really hurt you. They can only help you. And I do suggest that if students have done well on the SATs, that they do submit them, primarily because they can put them directly into general education, English, and math. So if they get 550 or higher, I believe, on the English and a 570 or higher on the math, they'll go directly into general education, English, and math. And for engineering students, they'll still probably take a math placement exam to see where they fall, so that it's called a calculus readiness test, but it allows them to know where they fall within calculus. But the higher that they can place in that and start, the better for them, because that just means the fewer requirements that they're going to need to complete in order to complete the degree.
Okay. Ok, thank you. That's very helpful. Mais alguém tem alguma pergunta?
Fernanda,
Sim.
Ela já falou sobre custo de vida, inserção da mensalidade, ou ela vai ainda falar sobre?
Ela falou um pouco, mas ela falou para undergrad, que é graduação. A gente pode conversar sobre isso, porque para cada programa isso é diferente. Os programas oferecem bolsas. Normalmente no mestrado, elas, assim, dificilmente elas serão integrais, mas isso vai depender muito do programa para o qual você está aplicando, e inclusive o ano que você está aplicando. Se tem mais dinheiro naquele programa, se tem menos dinheiro. I'm sorry, Bethany. Milena was asking. She's an advisee from our office in Rio, and she's checking on the possibilities to apply for masters in a couple of years in the US. And she was asking about tuition waiver, and I was explaining that each program has a different rule for that. It will depend on the program, on the year, and how much. If it's a complete waiver, if it's a $10,000 waiver on the tuition fee, it will depend.
Absolutely. For California State University Chico, I can tell you that our non-resident tuition fee waivers for graduate programs are, you have to be nominated by the coordinator for that program. And so I would encourage students that once they're admitted to let the program coordinator know that they're interested in a non-resident tuition fee waiver, and explain why, and then request. It typically is a merit and need-based waiver, and so they look for students who exhibit academic merit and also have a need for it.
Do you mind if I just Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. And then for our graduate programs, it does waive all of the out-of-state tuition.
Milena, a Bethany está explicando que existe a possibilidade de conseguir a isenção, por exemplo, na tuition, né, na valor da mensalidade, que a gente chamaria aqui, né? Isso vai depender do diretor do programa específico. Assim que o aluno é aprovado, ele deve entrar em contato com o diretor do programa explicando por que ele gostaria, e pode chegar a 100%. Mas isso precisa ser estudado caso a caso.
Ah, entendi.
Tá bom?
Sim.
Obrigada.
Ok.
Okay. If there aren't any more questions, and I'll stay on for a few more minutes if anybody wants to type or ask another question. Fernanda will probably stay with me, I hope.
Yes, of course.
But if there aren't any more questions, I'm finished. And it was very, very nice to have the opportunity to talk to you this way. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy in your homes. And I look forward to the possibility of meeting you either in Chico or in Brazil sometime in the future. Thank you so much. Obrigada.
De nada. Thank you very much. Guys, we're going to stay for a few more minutes, but I'm going to stop recording in the next minute or so. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present a little bit more about higher education in the US. Thank you very much, Bethany, and you can type your questions here. Vocês podem escrever suas perguntas aqui no chat. Eu vou parar de gravar daqui a pouquinho. Queria agradecer a Bethany pela oportunidade de nos mostrar um pouco mais a respeito de educação superior de qualidade nos Estados Unidos. E eu espero que vocês tenham desfrutado bastante da nossa sessão.